What's up guys, welcome to another week's episode of GetPsyched. Now, it's been a couple of weeks of lockdown and I'm sure everybody is struggling to some degree with mental health. I suppose that kind of thing is just natural. A couple of weeks ago, we did a little collaborative video of multiple psychologists, therapists, speakers and authors that I know that gave their top tips on how to manage mental health difficulties during lockdown. As I say, it's been a few weeks of lockdown now, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to reflect on some of those tips and give some of my tips on how to overcome mental health difficulties during the coronavirus. So the first question that we want to ask, why are mental health difficulties so at risk during these times? Well, the unprecedented nature of what we're experiencing at the moment is really going to fuel things like anxiety and even low mood. If you've watched some previous videos from GetPsyched, you'll know that one of the big cornerstones of anxiety is the intolerance of uncertainty. Basically, we have an uncertain situation, and how tolerant we can be of that situation really determines how anxious we feel. So if you think about what coronavirus is like, what lockdown is like, that's a really, really uncertain situation. Our tolerance level of that is going to be dependent on how anxious we feel. And so we've got to watch that tolerance level of that uncertainty. But ultimately, the uncertain nature of what we're experiencing is going to fuel that anxiety. I've also just realized my lights aren't on. That's really stupid. I think there's also something else to say here about the things that we normally would use that would improve our mental health are kind of limited right now. Things like socializing with other people, doing things outside that we enjoy, or even being in nature. I'm reminded of a video that I did a couple of months ago, probably a little longer now actually. When I was up north in Scotland, I was talking a lot about how being outdoors and being in nature is really, really important for our mental health. These things right now are just not options for us. So what exactly do we have to do in order to ensure that our mental health is okay during the lockdown? It requires a new way of thinking and a new way of operating, I feel, because again, we're limited in our resources of what we can use to improve our mental health. But one of the most important things I think right now during lockdown is to think about our environment. Right now, where you live, if you're in a house or a flat or an apartment or something like that, that is going to be where you rest, it's where you relax, it's where you hang out with family, it's where you conduct your business, where you work even. It might even be where you exercise. So your environment is so important. There was research done recently that talked about people who worked from home. When they worked in cluttered environments, they were more distracted because there was more visual stimulus around them to distract them. You have to think a little bit about your working environment. You have to think about your living environment when it comes to mental health. No one likes living in an untidy, cluttered, messy environment. So spend some time really considering your environment. That might mean doing a little bit of a deep clean or getting some new candles in, something like that to make that environment a little bit more hospitable. These are the small steps that will really impact your mental health. The next key tip for me is about structure and routine. We're kind of structural beings. We live off of routine. We have our daily routines, we have our weekly routines. We'll work set days during the week and then we'll have our days where we relax. Right now, our routine is all over the place. So it's so important for you to be able to implement new structures and new routines into your daily life. With the kind of change in structure and the change in routine, it can really throw off things like anxiety and low mood. So considering new structures and new routines is absolutely vital. And when I'm considering a new structure or a new routine, and I actually spoke about this at a couple of webinars I did recently for GetPsyched for some companies, 3 things really come to mind when it comes to structuring a new routine: achievement, pleasure and connection. These are the 3 pillars of your new daily structure or your daily routine that you need to be considering. The first of those 3 pillars is connection. Now, we are kind of social beings. We interact with one another, we gain pleasure from one another, we improve our mental health with each other. When we're disconnected from each other, that can have really serious ramifications for our mental health. And right now during lockdown, we've got no option but to be disconnected from each other. And I feel like this is where technology, FaceTime, texting, telephone calls really comes into play. On a daily basis, this needs to be considered. So when you're thinking about that new structure, that new routine, one of those key pillars needs to be connection. When you look back at your day, thinking about how did you connect with other people? And if you didn't connect with other people, you need to think about the next day and how you actually can do that. The second is pleasure. You need to be thinking a little bit about the things that give you pleasure. It's the same with connection. When you look back on your day, what did you do this day that you enjoyed? That could be going for a run, that one piece of governmentally advised exercise. That could be going for some exercise, for a jog. That could be eating your favorite meal, doing some cooking if that's the kind of way that you gain pleasure, you relax. It's really, really important for you to do the things that you enjoy. And the third is achievement. I know a lot of people are working from home to some degree, and I feel that often what can happen is when we don't feel as productive or we don't feel that we're achieving as much, often what can happen is our mental health can suffer. So I think it's really important to think a little bit about achievement, what you did during the day that you feel proud about, what you feel happy about, what you think was productive. I do want to make a little side note about this, and it comes into something called acceptance and commitment therapy. Recognizing that we are going through a once-in-a-century pandemic at the moment, and so if you're not feeling all that productive, you've got to kind of take it easy on yourself. This is a huge thing for many people, and I know that I've seen a lot of things on social media right now about how, this is this opportunity of time has been given to so many people with an entrepreneurial spirit, and people who are studying, you've been given the gift of time. That might be true to some degree, but we can't deny the fact that this is a really scary time for people, and we need to be a little bit easier on ourselves with that. I wanted to end today's video as well with a little bit of a thought about some theoretical concepts in therapy. And for me, acceptance and commitment therapy is something I've been learning a lot about. It's something I've been using a lot with my clients. And it's really important, I think, when we're trying to manage our mental health during these uncertain circumstances. What often can happen when we find challenges or when we're anxious or we have low mood is we try and fix the problem. We look at the anxiety and we say, right, what do we do? What can we do to change the uncertain circumstances that we feel so anxious about? And more often than not, what that actually can do is it can make things worse because we almost shine a spotlight on that anxiety. We say, right, we need to change this to some degree. Why is this not changing? And actually what can happen often is that anxiety can increase. It's actually one of the criticisms of therapy now and again, is that it can shine such a light on the mental health difficulties that we're facing that they inevitably become worse. Acceptance and commitment therapy says that there needs to be an element of acceptance of the things that we cannot control. And that's why one of the exercises that I've been talking a lot about recently on GetPsyched and some other webinars that I've been doing is controlling what you can control. A really helpful exercise could be to write down a situation that's as a result of the coronavirus. Like for me, I'm kind of uncertain about my graduation or when I might finish my doctorate. I might write that situation down, and I might write down the things that I can't control about that situation and the things I can control. Accepting the uncertain circumstances is a really important part of acceptance and commitment therapy, and it can lead to reductions in anxiety. The other side to acceptance and commitment therapy is commitment, and that commitment is catered towards driving progress towards what we value in our lives. So really kind of committing to change that we can make. Again, thinking about that exercise of what I can and can't control. What I can control on a daily basis might be continuing with my assignment work or continuing with my placements and my client work, doing my client notes. These are the kind of things that I can commit to that are going to drive change. Accepting the fact that I can't change this thing as a bigger picture. I can't change coronavirus. I can't change the lockdown. But what I can do is I can commit to the moment and progress towards graduation or progress towards the end of my doctorate. So I think an acceptance-based coping mechanism or an acceptance-based coping consideration based off of things like acceptance and commitment therapy is going to be really, really important. Okay guys, thanks so much for tuning in this week. Today we've been taking a little bit of a look at how to manage your mental health during the coronavirus. Again, make sure to check out the video from a couple of weeks ago where we had a number of different psychologists and therapists talk about their top tips. Today we've been talking a little bit about mine. I hope you guys are doing okay during these really strange and unprecedented times. I hope you're managing both your physical health and your mental health. And thanks again so much for watching guys, and hopefully catch you next week.